Married, I guess that's an important conclusion, to my beautiful wife Olivia, and yeah, so I'm an American, also get that out of the way. I've been in Canada for 3 years, and you know, there's some differences between Canada and America. The McDonald's here is a little bit healthier, the taxes are a little bit higher, but when I moved here to Brampton, I've been here for 3 years now. One of the things that took the most adjusting to was the driving. So I don't know if you guys have driven here before or if you walked here today, but man, the driving here is crazy. The first 2 weeks that I lived here, I was honked at every single day, multiple times. And I consider myself a good driver. I drove to New York, Indiana, Florida. Those are some of the places I live. And when I got here, I was like, it's a different ball game. Like, you gotta be paying attention all the time. The traffic is insane. And for those of you guys who aren't familiar with Brampton, a yellow light here is really a green light. And a red light is really a yellow light, okay? And when a red light has been red for 2 seconds, that's actually when you're supposed to stop. So, you know, the other thing that drivers do here is like, that's really annoying is they'll get behind you and just flick their lights if you did something wrong. And it's just like, that's almost more annoying than getting honked at. So those are some of the things that I noticed. And so probably 2 months ago, I was just amazed. So my wife, she was sick and I was really busy, and so I was going to Burger King to get us some food. And I'm turning into the Burger King drive-thru, and there's another car that could have easily turned in before me. Like, I had to stop for someone like walking or something, and this car could have easily went. But he waved me on because he knew I was there first. And I was just amazed at the kindness of this Brampton driver. I was literally just like blown away. That I got immediately, I was like, I'm gonna buy this guy's Burger King. Like, I was so enthused about it. And so I get to the window and I'm like, hey, can you tell me how much this guy's order is behind me? Because if it was more than 20 bucks, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it. Yeah, it's just like, oh, it's $12. And so I bought it for him, and I'm like driving away. I'm like looking back, I wanna see his reaction, contributing to the bad driving of Brampton. I didn't see it, but then I looked in my bag and they were missing my wife's sandwich. So they're missing my wife's sandwich, and I'm like, oh no, like I have to go back. So the way this parking lot works is you can't just turn back in. You literally have to go out, back onto Beauvais, come back around. It takes a whole like 10 minutes. So go back around, I come back to the drive-thru, realize I didn't even pay for it, so whatever. Get the sandwich, I think we're all good, right? I'm driving home, and I have these milkshakes on the seat. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to give my wife this food. She's gonna be so like grateful, and just want her to feel better. And I had to slam on the brakes for a red light, because I try to actually obey the law here. And literally the milkshakes fly, and mine is like half gone. They're spilled everywhere. I'm just like, oh no. So for the first time in my life, I understood the idea of no good deed goes unpunished. I was like, I finally understand what this means. And so when it's not just spilled milkshakes or forgetting a sandwich or clipping a trailer, like what if it's when just the impact, the gravity of the situation, it matters more, and we just ask ourselves, why? If I'm trying to do this good thing, then why did this bad thing happen to me? And I want to take a look at one of my favorite stories in the Bible. It's about this guy named Joseph, and I'm not sure if you can see this. It's the journey of Joseph. We're going to go through all of it. So I just want to give you guys kind of the cliffhangers, the big points about his life. He really has 3 big moments in his life where you're kind of wondering, as you're reading this story, man, like this guy has the worst luck in the whole world. Like there's no way that this happened to him. And I encourage you guys to read it for yourself. It's Genesis 37 through 50. Again, I'm just going to be giving the Cliff Notes version. But I want to talk about just this question that we all have from time to time. And that's just, why? Like, why did this happen to me? So a little bit about Joseph. He was the son of Jacob. He had 11 brothers. 10 of them were half-brothers. He had a younger brother named Benjamin. And for you siblings out there, maybe you've experienced this, but he was the favorite son, okay? His father, he favorited him. And his older brothers knew this, and they didn't really like that. So Joseph, one day his dad says, hey, go check on your brothers, come back, give me a report of how they're doing. Joseph goes and he says, hey, they're not doing great. He gives them a bad report. And his brothers find out about this report, and they're like, okay, Joseph, you're a tattletale. We don't like you. Like, why would you tell dad that information? Come on, can't you cut us a break? And so his brothers, they already didn't like him. Jacob, as I mentioned, really loved Joseph. He loved him so much that he made him this rich, ornate robe. So it was like a colorful robe. It was kind of long, and it wasn't just a symbol of favoritism, it was also a status symbol. So his brothers, they would be wearing like short tunics, and they'd be working out in the field because it was so hot and sweaty. It was just more comfortable for them to be wearing something like that. And this robe that Joseph was wearing was more of like a overseer kind of role. So he wasn't really doing manual labor. So this infuriated his brothers even more. It increased their hate for Joseph even more. And so on top of that, Joseph ends up having these dreams. And they're pretty much, they're very similar dreams. They kind of have the same meaning. He has some dreams about sheaves of grain. I don't know if you guys have ever had dreams about sheaves of grain. Probably not. But they all bow. There's like one sheaf of grain in the middle. All the other sheaves bow down to his. There's 11 of them, signifying his brothers. And then he has another dream where the sun and the moon and 11 stars also bow down to him. And so kind of some weird dreams here. And Joseph, being young, he's 17, he tells his brothers, he tells his parents that he has these stories, and they, at this point, they really, really don't like him. Even his own dad is like, what are you talking about? Like, you really think we're gonna be like bowing down and worshiping you? And, but then the Bible says that Jacob kind of kept it in mind. He's like, well, maybe, I don't know. So Joseph's brothers really don't like him, and one day his brothers are working out in the field, and his dad says, hey, go check on them again. And where his brothers were working, it was a 5-day trip. So he had to walk 5 days to get to his brothers. And he's walking, he's getting there, and his brothers see him coming in the distance because they recognize his robe, right? And so they say, hey, let's go ahead and kill him. Let's go ahead and kill this dreamer, right? So as he's approaching, the oldest brother, his name is Reuben, and the oldest brother, he's supposed to have the interest of his father. So he's like, hey guys, maybe let's not kill him. Maybe let's just throw him in this pit right here, and we'll just see what happens. So they decide to throw him into the pit, and Reuben, I guess, just disappears. The brothers are eating, and they see a caravan of Midianites coming. So this was a group of people just traveling. They're going to Egypt. And the brothers are like, you know what? Why don't we sell Joseph, sell our brother as a slave to these people? And we'll never have to see him again. So they sell him, and Reuben comes back. He's like, where's Joseph? They, put together this whole plan. They dip Joseph's robe in blood. They show it to his dad. So his dad literally thinks that he got killed by like a wild animal. And that's the story that they concocted. So that's the first thing that happens to Joseph, where it's like, man, his own family, first of all, they were planning to kill him. Then they sell him into slavery. Okay, so the story continues on. And he's bought by this person named Potiphar. And so he's in Egypt. This guy named Potiphar, he was basically the warden for the Pharaoh. So he looked over like the jail system for Pharaoh. He was kind of a big shot. And the the thing about Joseph is he was conscious of God. So he tried to do things in obedience with God. And wherever Joseph went, things tended to prosper all around him. He tended to be very successful in whatever he did. And so Potiphar buys him as a slave. Joseph is now in his house, and Potiphar recognizes that Joseph is doing really well. So he puts Joseph basically in charge of his house. And he never has to worry about anything because Joseph is in charge and God is prospering him because Joseph cares about what God thinks. And everything's going well, but one day Potiphar's wife notices that Joseph is handsome, he's well built, and she tries to get Joseph to sleep with her. And she does this every single day. And Joseph's like, no, I can't do that because, God has put me in this position. Why would I sin against God? Why would I do that to Potiphar? Right? So he has a knowledge of, he has a consciousness of God. I'm not going to do that. And so it's just day after day, she's telling him, hey, come sleep with me. He's basically trying to stay as far away as he can from her. So one day he comes into the house and there's no servants around. And again, Joseph is just doing his job. He's sold into slavery. He's trying to do the best that he can. He walks into the house, there's no one there. And she basically tries to sleep with him again, grabs his robe, and he runs away. So he runs away without his robe, and then she screams. And the servants come in like, what happened? What happened? She's like, that slave that my husband bought tried to sleep with me. See his robe right here. As soon as he came over, I screamed and then he ran. So Joseph gets framed for trying to sleep with Potiphar's wife. Potiphar is not happy about this. And since he is the warden of the penal system there, he throws Joseph in jail. Okay? So Joseph is just man, he's trying to do his best. He's doing a good job, and then he gets thrown in jail for something that he wasn't even trying to do. It's just crazy. So I know I'm giving you guys a lot of history here. Just bear with me for a few more moments. So Joseph, he ends up in this prison. And remember, he was 17 when this journey started, okay? I'll tell you how old he was when it all ended. But so Joseph, he's in this prison, and it's also like a dungeon. But again, he's conscious of God, and the warden of that specific jail puts him in charge, okay? And he never has to worry about the jail again because Joseph is in charge. He does a really great job because God is prospering him. One day, the chief baker and a steward of the Pharaoh, they offend Pharaoh. So Pharaoh's upset. He sends them down into the jail. And they see Joseph there. And one night, they have a dream, both of them. They have this dream. The chief baker has a dream that, he's, putting grapes in the Pharaoh's drink. And the other guy has a dream that basically he has these baskets on his head. The birds are eating food. It's kind of weird, but it's not super important. Basically, they're upset about these dreams that they have. They're like, this is weird. What do they mean? And Joseph tells the baker, hey, you're going to be restored to your position in 3 days. You got nothing to worry about. The other guy's like, oh, that's a great, interpretation. What about my dream? He's like, yeah, you're going to be killed in 3 days. And so he's like, oh boy. And it ends up happening just the way that Joseph said, okay? Now, right before the chief baker goes back to Pharaoh, Joseph is like, hey man, I was sold into slavery by my brothers. I was working for Potiphar. His wife tried to sleep with me, completely framed me. Now I'm in jail. Dude, can you help me out? Can you tell Pharaoh, can you get me out of here? And he's like, yeah, don't worry. As soon as I get up there, I'm going to talk to Pharaoh. I'm painting a picture here. The Bible doesn't say all this, but he's like, yeah, I'll help you out. Don't worry. One day goes by. He doesn't hear anything. 2 days, a week, a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Joseph is left in the dungeon after he interpreted this guy's dream. And he's just waiting. Can you guys imagine what Joseph might have been feeling? Like day after day in this dark dungeon, like, okay, when is he gonna come back? I told him, like, there's no way he forgot, right? Well, the guy, he completely forgot. And he didn't remember Joseph. Eventually, Pharaoh, he has a dream. And he has a dream that no one can give him a good interpretation about. And the baker goes, oh my goodness, I know a guy down in the jail. His name's Joseph. He'll interpret your dream for you. And so Pharaoh calls up Joseph from the dungeon. He interprets his dream and he tells him, hey, there's gonna be 7 years of abundance in Egypt, and then there's gonna be a 7-year famine. So I suggest you put someone really wise in charge to just take care of the food, the rations, all that stuff, because it's gonna be really hard. Like, people from all over the world are gonna experience this famine and come here for food. And Pharaoh's like, okay, because you fear God, like, I'm gonna put you in charge. And Joseph goes from being in jail, being in prison, to basically being second in command to Pharaoh. So he basically goes from the pit to the palace. And yeah, I just summarized his life. You know, he started when he was 17, and then he met Pharaoh when he was 30. So that was 13 years of uncertainty, anxiety, of, man, I was sold as a slave. I went through all of these things. Now here I am. Again, I'm giving you guys like the Cliff Notes. I definitely encourage you to go read it by yourself. But I bet Joseph, when he was in that dungeon, or maybe when he was on his way to Egypt, that he asked why. You know, God, why would I have these dreams? Why would my brothers put me into slavery? Why would you let this happen to me, where I'm being framed and now I'm in prison and I'm being forgotten, right? I'm being forgotten in this prison. And, you know, just as I just want to open it up for you guys, what do you guys think about asking why? Because the Bible doesn't specifically say that Joseph asked God, why is this happening to me? But I bet during his time in the dungeon, where he was literally chained up, he's like, God, I'm doing everything you want me to do, and it just seems to go sideways. But what do you guys think about asking God why? Have you ever done that? Is it good? Is it bad? Does it not really matter? Is it indifferent? I just want to open up. What do you guys think about that? I appreciate everything you guys said. Joseph, he had a pretty hard go. I mean, he had these dreams that, you know, he was hopeful for. It sounded like he was excited to share them. Maybe he was a little bit naive to do that, but man, what he went through was really tough. And then having to wait in the prison, and he comes to this amazing conclusion, because the famine does happen, and people from all over the world went to Egypt for food, and he was in charge. You know, he was second to Pharaoh, and basically that famine hit his brothers where they were living, and they had to go to Egypt. And this whole time they didn't know where Joseph was. They didn't know if he was still alive. So they go to Egypt, and they see Joseph. But the thing is, they don't recognize Joseph because he had changed so much. I guess that's my theory. But maybe he just looked so different. Maybe they just out of sight, out of mind. But they didn't recognize it, but he recognized them. And there's more to the story. But basically, you know, his brothers end up like weeping, you know, begging him, like, please forgive us. And he forgives them, and he cries, and it's, you know, really emotional. He forgives them for what they did, and he comes to this amazing conclusion. He says in Genesis chapter 50, he said, what you intended for evil, God intended for good. And there's different translations, and I can get like, man, what is this really trying to say? But what I take away from it is that the evil that was intended, God was able to take it and bring something good out of it. Because I believe that God either allows things to happen or he makes things happen. And so it's really, this is a tough, it's a tough subject to preach on. And I'm not saying that God made that happen to Joseph. I don't think I have an understanding to be able to answer that perfectly. But it also doesn't justify what happened to Joseph or, devalue what he went through. Like, that was real. But it's an amazing conclusion that Joseph comes to, where he changes his perspective, and this whole time he was able to trust God. It's really amazing. And I think that's part of, the wrestling that each and every single one of us have to do. We have to wrestle through those questions and be like, God, why? And even if you don't get an answer, I think that that's a possibility too. Like, we don't get like a clear, this is exactly why this really evil thing, or maybe it wasn't evil but traumatic thing happened. We may not get an answer, but at the same time, what the Bible does say is that God will never forsake you or leave you. And throughout Joseph's journey, you can see, when you read it especially, that God was with him every step of the way. Like, he was going through some hard times, and I'm not saying God caused it, but God was with him, and he never left him. And that is a promise that God gives us. That's really amazing. And so, yeah, you guys were on the right track with where I was going here. This is Easter Sunday, and I did want to, just talk about Jesus for a little bit. As he was on the cross, Justin talked about it a little bit. He lived a perfect life. He's God in the flesh. He came down 100% human, 100% God. Please don't ask me to explain how that is, but he was, and he took on the sin of the world for us because he loved us. And in Matthew 27:46, it says, about 3 p.m, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? And there's some different theological explanations as to what does this actually mean. I'm not going to get too deep into that right now, but I think what Rav shared was that he felt abandoned by God. And how is it possible that if Jesus is God and he's all-knowing, he's all-powerful, he's everywhere, right? If he knew, certainly Jesus knew why he was being crucified, and yet he still asked this question. And I think that's the point, is to ask why is to be human, right? And I think it's just a beautiful thing. Jesus gives us a great example. It's not wrong to ask God why. And the reason for Jesus dying and being rose from the dead is John 3:16. It says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. And that's why Jesus did it. And I get emotional just thinking about it. But so the call to action for you guys, just connect with somebody about your story, like your pit. Maybe you're in it right now. Maybe you're praying and you feel like you're in the dungeon, and man, you just are waiting for God to take you somewhere else. Maybe you've been through some really hard times, and I just want to encourage you guys to connect with someone in this room, someone you want to share your story with, and hopefully that can just encourage one another and help us grow closer.